I'm Alexandra Cruz. I play Dr. Charlotte Fox in Mango Dead Serious. I would say that my first acting role ever was when I was 9 years old. I started dancing when I was 3, and I danced with a professional modern dance company when I was 9 years old. And one of the scenes in the dance that I was doing was like pantomiming a tea party with my dolls. And I would say that was my first acting role ever, because that was like acting. I had to literally act it out. But then I, in middle school, played Veruca Salt in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And then I went to a performing arts magnet high school in Miami called New World School of the Arts. It's an award-winning magnet high school. And then I got my bachelor's degree in theater and dance from the George Washington University. And then after college, I moved to Chicago, where I performed in a lot of avant-garde and experimental theater projects and some independent films. And then I went to grad school for public health, which is a totally different thing, but it has worked for me now that I play Dr. Charlotte Fox, having a background in public health and wanting to save the world. And then I moved to Los Angeles about a decade ago to pursue acting in a much more intense way here in LA. And I've had a lot of success in commercials and some voiceover and, again, independent films. So I've been acting almost my entire life. Oh, wow. I'm inspired by so many actors. I think growing up, I was really inspired by Natalie Portman. Willem Dafoe has always been a huge inspiration of mine. I just think that he has played such interesting characters over his career. I'm a big Jake Gyllenhaal fan. Donnie Darko is one of my favorite films of all time. My favorite director and who really inspired me as a kid is John Waters. A big John Waters fan. I know every line to the original Hairspray and Crybaby. I've also run into him in person. I've seen him speak. I saw he spoke at my college at GW when I was in college. And then one time I was leaving LA. I was at LAX. I think I was going home to Miami, but I don't remember where I was going. And just as I was getting out of my Uber, he was getting out of his. And I just turned to him and I was like, I am such a big fan. I saw you speak at GW in college. And he's like, thank you so much. I think the hardest thing about being an actor is the rejection. It's constant. It is constant. I think you have to realize that it's not personal. What roles are for you, and what's not is not. There's a lot of highs, and then there's a lot of lows. You have that excitement, and it's so exciting that like you're almost there. But then when you get that, sorry, they went with somebody else, it can feel really tough. And I think that unless you do a lot of personal mindset work to work on like your self-worth, it can probably get really, really depressing. And I'm really grateful for the processes that I've created for myself, such as meditation, journaling, therapy. Really important for an actor because there's just so much rejection and you can't make it about you. What I love about acting is the collaboration. I love working with other creatives. I learn something every single project I've ever been on. I love getting, especially when you're working on something theatrical, I love getting to know a character, getting into another person's mind, what it would be like to be in that person's paradigm, and realizing that nobody is perfect, right? Like no one's life is perfect. Your character's life is not perfect. And it makes you feel a little bit more human, I think, to get to know another human. My voice acting experience before Mango Dead Serious was mostly in the commercial world. And I had created a voice for my dog for our YouTube show. It started out as Dolores' dog show, and it was just about her and her experiences. But then I pivoted, realizing that it should be a travel show about me and her. And it was really fun to create that little kid voice for her, and I have so much fun with it. So I didn't have a ton of voiceover acting experience before Mango Dead Serious, but it was something that I really wanted to do because I do like doing interesting voices. And I love that you can work in a sweatshirt and you don't have to have hair and makeup, and which I don't mind hair and makeup, but it's really fun to like be able to work in a really comfortable setting. The other thing I realize I love about voice acting theatrically is that I can be very expressive with my body and with my face, which doesn't always work for on-camera theatrical work. You know, you have to be very still a lot of the time. And I could use my body in the way that I wanted to use my body, because it's probably being a dancer and a figure skater. I'm very used to moving my body to express myself. They really loved that about working on Mango Dead Serious. Before starting this project, I didn't know too much about audio dramas. I do happen to share a birthday with Orson Welles, and so I've been fascinated by Orson Welles. I mean, he's incredible, obviously, but I did know about War of the Worlds and that all there were audio dramas up until, right? Well, it's not all there were. Obviously, cinema's been around since like the turn of the last century, but that it's what people really experienced most of the time, unless they got to go out to the cinema or, you know, before there was television in everybody's home. So I understood the history of it, but more in our modern times, I didn't know too much. There's a few actors that I follow on social media that I know had been in some audio drama, you know, fictional podcasts, more famous actors, but nothing that I had ever really listened to. So yeah, not too much. I saw the casting notice on casting networks, or a lot of actors call it LA casting. I saw the casting notice and I realized that it would be a role that would be great for me. I'm not an actor that just throws spaghetti at the wall. I am very particular about what I will self-submit to versus my agent submitting me. But this role seemed absolutely perfect for me, just in that she was a doctor, and I knew that I was more interested in doing more voiceover work. And my public health background, I think I even wrote in the notes that I had a master's degree in public health and a health background. And so yeah, good old casting networks. In terms of preparing for the audition, once I get sides, I always read the sides multiple times to really get a feel for the character. Even though I still use the sides in the audition, I don't try to memorize for an audition per se. However, I do want to be really familiar with the sides. And so that's the main thing, is to really read those sides over and over and over again. What I remember from the audition experience is that it was Zoom. It was virtual, which a lot of our auditions are now. I remember that immediately Ben seemed very friendly, which is always nice, because sometimes directors can be kind of stoic. And so it's always nice when someone seems friendly. And we had a lot of fun, and I felt that Ben really tried to make me feel comfortable and allowed me to play and gave me some good notes that I like to play with. The callback experience was really fun because I felt like I got to be in front of the mic, you know, rather than getting a lot of callbacks are over Zoom now. And it was really fun to be in the room, and it was really fun to actually like be at the mic. And of course, I wore what I thought Dr. Charlotte Fox would wear. I'm very much, for auditions and callbacks, I'm very much into making sure that my wardrobe and style matches what I think the character is. And yeah, similar to the original audition, I just felt like I had a lot of fun and was able to feel comfortable because Ben made me feel really comfortable. When I book a role, it is absolutely elation. And I think, like I said earlier, we put so much work into roles that we'll never book, that when you finally book one, it feels really good. It also, because I have been really interested in making the switch to doing more voice work, it just felt like, how to explain it? Like, it felt like this thing I've been wanting to do was like here, that I was going to have this experience. I've also, other than theater, I have never had a lead role in a full feature length anything. So that was really exciting as well. I was really excited to get the whole script. I was really excited to dive deep into this world, do the work, and see what it was like to have a lead role in a feature-length production. I think that at the end of the day, Dr. Charlotte Fox and I are kind of similar. I don't want to give too much away if someone hasn't listened. There are certain lines that Dr. Fox has that are so similar to me. For example, there's a mountain lion in the script, and exactly the way that she sees the mountain lion and can't stop talking about the mountain lion is exactly how I would be if I had an experience with a mountain lion. And again, like my science and public health background, I could really relate to her desire to save humanity. There was just so many similarities. Again, spoiler, but she loses both of her parents in the pandemic. And I lost my father in 2022, just like a year and a half before I started production on Mango Dead Serious, so that I could really draw on my own life experiences for the character. And I think she starts out as already being a badass, but she becomes even more of a badass and understands herself and her desires more as the story continues. My process in preparing for a role, number one, is to read the script over and over and over again to really understand the world that this character is living in. Another thing that I do, which again came from an acting teacher of mine, is his process that he teaches has a lot to do with physical feelings in the body, right? As human beings, when we experience something, we have a physical reaction, right? We say, oh, we feel in our gut, my heart, like chills down your back. And so for more intense sections of the story, I try to find an image, a visual image that creates some sort of visceral physical reaction in my body. Going back to, let's say, the mountain lion, like as a human being, if I were to see a mountain lion, what would that do to my body, right? Maybe you would get chills up your spine, or you would freeze, or your whole body would feel like ice, or your whole body would feel like concrete or something. To find images and ideas that give your body a visceral reaction. Because when your body has the reaction, it's also going to come out in your voice. This role was very physically demanding. Even though I'm just in a booth and it's just my voice, there's a lot of running and jumping and yelling and fighting off zombies, running from mountain lions, that in order to produce a real sound from your voice, you actually have to do the movements. And as much as I had so much fun doing it, but you're standing for hours and really physically moving your body, but also having to keep your head right at the mic at the same time while you're wanting to feel those feelings of running and jumping and screaming. I'm glad for my sports and yoga background because it definitely gave me the endurance to push through. But, there were times where I was sweaty and, voice needed a break for a moment. But overall, it was super exciting and super fun for me because I absolutely love being in the booth. My first time listening to Mango Dead Serious was amazing. I was so blown away by all the little detail of the sound, like the way the zombies sounded. Also, I really love Kismet, the dog. I'm a big dog lover, and I love Kismet so much. It was so fun to hear, because I didn't hear any of this, right? When I'm just recording in the booth, it's Ben's voice and my voice, and that's it. And so to hear all the little details, the sound of the rain, and then even the music, the sound of the car, I was just absolutely blown away by the detail. And I loved like Keisha's performance. Like, it's nothing that I had heard prior. And so I was just blown away by all the other actors as well. I would say that my most memorable experience, I probably have two. One is that, just this was my first time spending a lot of hours, a number of days in a sound booth. And it will always be memorable to me because it was my first feature-length audio acting experience. And so it will always be memorable to me. And then, of course, listening to it. Listening to it with my mom and my husband. That we sat on the couch in my living room, and it was just really fun to see and hear and feel their reactions. That was really memorable as well. I think that anyone would love Mango Dead Serious because it has action, it has comedy. I think that you'd be blown away by the amount of detail that you'll hear in the sounds. And I think what's really fun about an audio experience versus a visual experience is that you can kind of imagine the world. Like, I know in my mind exactly what I think that the airport looks like, or what the car looks like, or what Uncle Henry looks like. And that might be totally different for someone else. You really get to use your visual imagination in a different way. And so I think you get to be more creative and involved than if you're actually just being put on the screen in front of you. Like, your brain gets to activate in a way that it's not the same if you sit in a movie theater. And I think it's really fun on like a car ride or a plane trip. You can also even I've listened to it a few times on Apple Podcasts, but it's kind of fun to be able to be chopping vegetables and listening. And every single time I listen, I pick up something else. I hear something different. A joke lands with me in a different way. And so I think that anyone who listens to it would have a really fun experience.
Hey, Ben here, creator of the feature-length audio drama Mango Dead Serious. I hope you enjoyed this special Mango Dead Serious bonus episode. Subscribe to our channel or follow us on social media for lots more behind-the-scenes content, and stay tuned for more audio action coming from Hard 90 Productions.